Friends and family, thank you guys so much for joining Every Day is a Saturday with your host, me, myself, and I, Brian Roof. Hey guys, we are here with Staff Sergeant Cruz for a round two. I know a lot of you guys liked hearing his first episode, and a lot of you guys are intrigued because, you know, he's an active duty Marine, Staff Sergeant. He was a drill instructor. He's an air winger, got great stories, great experiences. He's also one hell of a motivator and dedicator. So to the core, my core, your core, the Marine Corps. What's up, man?
You know, just having another Dan Daily day over here. Just took a break from doing all the schoolwork right now because, you know, I'm currently doing my master's degree right now. So just taking a break and, you know, talking with friends, I guess, you know, this is what we do.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to see that we can now see you face to face instead of over the phone. Get to see that little chisel
Yes, sir.
smile of yours. So, hey, let's go ahead and start talking a little bit of stuff. I know, you know, we talked a lot about drill, you know, you being a drill instructor, but something that I didn't get to touch on and I would love to hear about too is the drill instructor school in general, because you know, I mean, boot camp was rough. It's like, how was drill instructor school, man?
I'm gonna be honest, it's got awful. So
Kind of run us through it.
So think about this, right? So, for example, myself, I was HISted, right? Usually the people that get HISted do pretty well on their SEAs as a drill instructor versus who volunteer, because if you're HISted, you're just going with the mentality like, well, I'm just going to suck it up and just push through it, right? So imagine.
Now, so let's go ahead and explain it a little bit for the people that aren't Marines, what you're saying, because, you know, we're throwing a lot of acronyms at these
I know.
guys.
So the HIS list, right? So it's a list that comes out every year that for those that do not volunteer to go do these special duty assignments, which is either being a recruiter, drill instructor, or Marine security guard in one of the embassies, to fill on those gaps, there's this list that's called the HIS list, right? To fill in those gaps. And usually they pick the top tier from every MOS. Usually the requirement, and you know, this is just spewing just knowledge from the top of my head. Usually it's they'll pick. Now it's corporals. They now select corporals now. But after you've done your first enlistment, if you're 2 years on station and you have not done an SDA billet or special duty assignment, you're going to be put on this list. Does that mean that you're going to go and do an SDA billet? It doesn't mean that. You know, there's different criteria to depend on what's going to happen, right? So you submit your package like, hey, I meet I can pass a PFT. I'm in weight high standards. You know, they look at all your tattoos and whatnot, and then they'll come back from the screening list, and then they'll say like, all right, well, out of everyone, you got picked in. This is like very randomly, right? You're going to go drill instructor. You're going to go recruiter. You know, it's the Oprah Winfield of SDAs, right? You get recruiter. You get recruiter. You get recruiter. You get drill instructor, right? So that's kind of how the HIS list works, right? But kind of think about it also as well is you have like the Marine Corps is full of like alpha males, right? You know, very dominant, everything else. So the ones that go to DI school, when you kind of like think about it, they are like the subject matter experts within their MOS, right? They're like no shit, like hot shit within their MOSs. You have a whole bunch of guys that are hot shit, right? And they're going to go, and you go from hot shit to your like bottom filth scum of the earth. Like for real. So,
You're recruiting again. You're recruit all over again.
So let me explain like check-in process, right? So you go in, the depot itself, it's pretty intimidating, right? So I still remember driving into the depot and I see the parade deck, and the parade deck from the other side looks very, very impressive, right? And now you're just looking all over yourself, and I'm not going to lie, you're pretty scared, right? Because you have this mentality. You have not interacted with a drill instructor since, you were a recruit, right? So you go in, and my experience, right? I go in with my paperwork to the S1 office. It's like, okay, cool. Your paperwork looks good. Go into the next door. There's going to be some drill instructors. Your drill instructors are going to be there, and they'll give you more instruction. I'm like, all right, cool, right? So I walk through the hallway, go to the other door, and there's this big room, right? As soon as I go in there, right, proper customs and courtesies, right? So I go in there, I say, good afternoon, gentlemen. Yeah, right, dude. Like, I got fucking blasted. There was this freaking female gunnery sergeant that was hiding behind the door. And she, like, freaking blasted me, like, straight up, like, oh, I guess I'm invisible. I guess I'm in pain against the wall. I guess we don't learn anything to flee about customs and courtesies, right? Like, situational awareness. How about you go back and get it right the next time? I'm like, oh, God, dude. I'm like, this is...
You're back at that level. You can't do anything right.
I'm like, this is like 5 minutes into checking into DI school, right? So I go back out. I go back in. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, gentlemen. And then, I get blasted again. Like, well, I guess I'm fat as fuck, huh? I guess I'm plural. I guess I'm freaking oversized over here because I guess I'm ladies. So I go back out again, right? And then, I do this for like 2 or 3 times. And then I finally am able to go and check in with the instructors that's in front. And they're looking all over my alphas. And I'm getting fucked up left and right? Like, they're looking at it. And the only discrepancy...
Finding all the IPs in the world, dude.
The only discrepancy I had in my alpha, like the tab that I had over here, it was on the outside instead of inside the collar. And I started getting reamed, man. Like, they were like, you are... Given that I was a sergeant, right? And they're like, you are a sergeant of Marines. How the hell do you expect for your freaking junior Marines to be correct when you're all fucked up? And they started, like, hounding on me. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like Cooper Cole Black at this point. I'm like, what the hell did I just get myself
into? Oh, man. Yeah, dude.
And I'm like...
No kidding. It sounded like being a recruit all over.
Man.
It
was bad, right? So, anyways, they gave us the whole spiel, like, hey, come back at 1700, right? I'm like, all right, cool. We leave. There's a whole bunch. We're over at the patio, waiting for 1700. All the other DI students, we're there. We're just talking, everyone from their different MOSs and more of our expectations. And, as usual, Marines, we make jokes about it. Like, oh, yeah, this is like being treated like a recruit. And we make jokes about it, right? And then we go back in there inside the classroom. And then the chief instructor comes in, right? And he starts off with, stand up straight and look at me now. And we're like, oh, shit, right? We all, like, lock our bodies. He's like, nah, I'm just joking, just kidding. Welcome to, drill instructor school. My name is, Gunnery Sergeant, blah, blah, blah. And he starts talking, give us an introduction, presents who's a OIC for DI school and everything else. Everything was, for that part, for the brief, was pretty chill, right? And then they tell us, like, well, it was like around 2000, and they're like, all right, so just a reminder, tomorrow will be here at 06 for everything, and, just make sure that you have these T cards ready, right? Now, the T cards, which are these little small index cards that are 3x5s, what they ask you is they give you this big fat book, which gives you the whole entire schedule. Now they've gone away from it, right? But for the time that I went, they have this big fat book, which tells you what events are for the following day. So what they want you to do is to write everything from that schedule, for the schedule for the following day, and write it on these small little 3x5s, right? And they had to be a specific size, specific spacing between each line and everything else, and specifically write the notes, no smudges, laminated. Make 4 of these, right? It sounds simple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds simple.
Not in the Marine Corps.
Fuck no. Fuck no. The next day we go in, right? Uh, Everything normal, the class, there wasn't too much stress. They were telling us about the explanation about, hey, what are the expectations for, who's ever going to be the duty NCO for that day, everything else. And boom, off the rip. Hey, uniform inspection right now. Get online. Bro. It felt like it was the senior drill instructor inspection again, right? And they're coming in here, like all the instructors are coming in with their black belts, screaming on top of their lungs in your face. You got spit all over in your face. You're nervous because they're asking all these freaking random questions, and you're like, I don't.
Probably shit you forgot. Or you definitely forgot on the spot. When you're under so much pressure, you're probably like, "Oh gosh,
I was like,
I
what?
don't know this."
Yeah, and they're asking you a whole bunch of questions, like, hey, like what's the length for your McMahon belt? Like simple questions, right? And those ones, like, you can answer like pretty normal because you go through it quite often in the fleet. But when they start asking you like, hey, what's your seventh general order? You're like, I don't know. I don't recite that for a long time. Shit, man, you're getting blasted left and right, bro. You're just getting blasted. And then you come back and you're like, all right, whatever. Anyways, they tell you like around noonish time, like, hey, we're gonna cut you out for chow. But by the way, by the time you come back from chow, we need you to bring all these items, right? Bro, your whole entire chow time goes into going to the PX and trying to acquire all these items. So pretty much you skip chow completely, right? And by the end of the day, right, after you got in your class briefs and whatnot, they come back and they're like, oh, by the way, go back to your instructors, and then you talk to your instructors. Your squad instructors are telling you how trash you are because all your T cards were all messed up. So guess what? You're going to turn in tomorrow the T cards that you're going to owe them for the following day, 4 again, and plus the ones that you fucked up, you're going to have to redo all 4 of them. So now the following day you owe 8. Now, given that each card, if you're very efficient with it, is going to take you roughly like 20, 30 minutes, right? But since it's our first time doing it, it takes you roughly like 50 minutes to make each card. So now you spent the whole entire night making these stupid cards. So for the next following day, all 8 of them are wrong. So guess what happens at the
Oh man!
4 for the first day, the 4 for the second day, the 4 for the third day. All right. So now you
are 12 now.
You are hungry, right? You are starving at this point because you're pretty much not eating till the end of the day where you can actually put some like decent food in your body. You're barely not sleeping, and it's Friday, bro. And Friday is the day of the PFT that you run your first PFT. Now, it's not like the PFT in the fleet, right? Because the PFT in the fleet, you show up to the PFT field and you run your PFT. No. You start from where the classroom is. You do a formation run, which the formation run is like a dead-ass sprint to the PFT field. You do the PFT to then do a freaking PFT or a sprint back to the schoolhouse. So pretty much you are sleep-deprived, super hungry, right? And you possibly are running the worst PFT you ever done in your whole entire life. Played out of your mind. And in addition, right, you have what's called teachbacks, right? Teachbacks are, it's this big fat pamphlet where you have to, it's pretty much you're giving a class of drill movements and you're explaining everything from the purpose of the movement, when you're making the command, how you're going to, how you execute it when you're going to give the command, and you're describing the command of what everyone in the platoon has to do, right? But you have to scream that whole thing in verbatim. You have to like legit scream it, and you're not like screaming like from me to you, right? You are on one side of the parade deck, and the instructors are on the other side of the parade deck, and you have to scream it where the instructors have to hear you.
Oh man.
So literally,
you guys were already looking your voices right
oh
there,
yeah,
huh?
you I will tell you what, that first time you're doing your teach backs and you're blowing out your voice, the person attention, the position of Texas where all commands are given, and then you continue going on, but you're screaming on top of your lungs, and you know, like by the time you start describing the movement, like your feet are going to be at a 45, and you start screaming all those commands, that dude, like you are like winded, you are like so winded, and your diaphragm hurts, your throat hurts, and they can't hear you.
And
Airplanes flying above
you
you.
probably didn't even think that would be a thing, huh? You probably didn't even think that would be a thing at that moment. Like, I mean, you're thinking, oh, I could scream over there. And then probably, I mean, after doing it for several minutes, bro, you're like, wow, a lot harder than I thought.
Minutes? No, man. We're talking about like 20 seconds. 20 seconds in, your voice is gone.
No, yeah.
20
I'm
seconds
sure.
in, your voice is gone. And your instructors are blasting you like, I can't hear you, louder. And you're like, and you're like sweating, and you're stressed out because you don't want to miss up any word and anything like that. Like, you're stressed out, bro. You're stressed out. And then you know, if you did a good job, you know, you don't have to do remedial. But if you mess up, right, you're going to have to come back Saturday morning, which is your free day, and you're going to have to remediate. And going back to the PFT, right, if you run more than a 2230 or 2130, one of those two, you're placed on remedial PT.
Wow. And I mean, I don't know, 22 minutes is, you got to be at a pretty good, steady pace.
Yeah. So you can imagine that 3/4 of the class were on remedial PT because everyone was laid out of their minds.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad, right?
Let me ask you, did they have you guys stay the night there, or did you guys get to go home at a certain time and you had to be back in the morning, or how did that all work?
How that works is, usually if you live nearby, you can go to your house. Like every night they'll let you like leave, right? So you got there's like 3 different COAs, right? So one is the person that lives nearby, you can go to your house. Number 2, if you were, let's say like, hey, you're stationed in Okinawa or something, they'll give you a no shit barracks room, right? And if you're like in my case, that you're stationed like somewhere which is sort of close by, but not close enough. Like, for example, I lived in Pendleton and I had to travel to MCRD. That's a 40-minute commute. So they give you what are these rooms called ROM, where you can stay in there, and they give you that room for all the DI students who want to not do that drive. So I would stay there the whole entire weekend. And on the weekends, I would go home. I'll tell you, first weekend, that first weekend was a slip because I had 2, 3, 4, 5 times 4, 20 T cards to do, plus the ones on Monday. So
now, you married and kids and all that stuff when you were in? I mean, when you were doing DI?
Yes, married with kids, and I'm telling you what, man, that was rough. DI school, I'll say this much: I would have not survived DI school without my wife, because it got to a point where I told my wife, like, I need your help. I need your help to survive. I need you for the weekend. I need you to prepare me at least all the lines for the T cards. So by the time I would make it Friday night home, at least I have a packet like this ready for me to just write it all in, right? So that takes away at least like 20 minutes on each card. And then later on, during the progression in DI school, the instructors become a lot more relaxed, right? They are what they call it. They start transitioning with you, kind of like what's the same expectations as like what they want for the drill instructor. Like first phase, like you're very direct, nothing's missed, blah, blah, blah. And then as time goes down, you pull away to see the development of that recruit and a more non-robotic where you have to explain to them absolutely everything, right? So you pull back and look and then make the small corrections, right? So kind of like the same thing works in DI school where, they're demanding with all these cards and everything else. Before, you had to go to parade deck and stream out all these teachbacks. And then they were like, all right, if you have any time, like instead of waiting till Friday to give all the teachbacks, you can do it during the week, during your chow time. You can go up to the instructor and hit the teachbacks, right? And then, like, if you were a smart student, you would go to the easier instructor, right? So we had one, which so happens to be the eye monitor currently, Hun. Everybody wanted to go with him because he was more about, I don't care too much of what it says verbatim. I want you to show me what corrections you would do to a recruit for this type of movement. And that's all he wanted to see. And we're like, that's the guy that we want to go to. Cause like literally like memorizing each word. Oh my God. And it's not only that, you had to memorize that. You had to memorize the RTO, which is the recruit training order, which you had to study that from up, down, left, right, all around clear, right? You had to memorize that. Not only that, you had to memorize the same recruit knowledge that you learn as a recruit. You have to relearn all that stuff again. So it's a lot of academics that you have to learn in 13 weeks. And plus,
so yeah, it's the same amount of boot camp then, huh? It's just another boot camp. But I mean, probably would you say it's probably more intense just because of the expectation? That for one, you guys are already Marines. Recruits aren't. There's just a different. I gotta say, probably a different expectation there, and some guys, or do you feel that maybe they aren't as hard on you guys, or what do you say?
If you would say like what was hard if going as a recruit or going to DI school, I will hands down say DI school, hands down. And you got to think about it. Like as a recruit, you're going to do absolutely everything possible to become a Marine, right? Everything possible, right. Because you don't know any better. You're going to go to DI school. You have experience about the fleet. You know how the Marine Corps works and everything else. And low key, you're like, I'm getting fucking hazed right now. There's no way person is talking to me like this. And like, there's no one's flinching an eye about this, right? Like, you cannot talk to me like bullshit. I am going to talk to you like that. You're going to receive it and you're going to keep your mouth shut because guess what? Are you going to say like, oh, the recruit's going to come at you sideways? You're like, So, pretty much it's rough, man. It's rough. And not only that, you like as a recruit, you don't have any other distractions, right? They take away your phone that, you don't have to do family. Right. Like I have still kids. I still have a wife. And I'll tell you one, at the time, Grace Ariano, right? She was my squad instructor, which mad respect to her. She played the role like no other, like I have mad respect for this woman, right? But however, me as a young sergeant, I came up to her like, hey, I'm having this issue with my son at the CDC. He's acting out. I don't know what to do, blah, 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 blah. And she comes up to me and she looks at me like, and what do you want me to do? Like that's a you issue. That's not a me issue. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, my kid's acting out. He's being aggressive at the CDC, blah, blah, blah. And like, well, that sounds to me like it's a failure from your part as a father. And I was like, bro, did you call me a shitty father? And she's like, looks at me dead ass in the eyes like,
you right?
Like, what do you want me to do? That's your kid. Like, if you didn't show him or discipline him or know what's right and what's wrong, like, whenever you go away, all of a sudden he starts acting out, that's a you problem, bro. You can't expect that we're going to stop all recruit training because you were not able to show whatever values you need to show to your kid. So whenever you go away, he doesn't start acting out. Bro, I was like, I heated, bro. Like heated.
Yeah, that was deep, bro. Yeah, for sure. Like she kicked you right in the nuts on that
Bro,
one.
I still remember, like, after, I think that was at the beginning of the week, and we had this one run, which was a Miramar run. And I've always sucked at running, bro. Like, I literally have to run myself to freaking death to run a decent running time. I remember we were doing the run,
Yeah.
and it was a squad run, right? So whoever squad would get first, they don't have duty. But I was like in like not the correct mindset. I was like, I just don't give a flying fuck. Like, I have this issue. I have my issues with my kids and whatnot. And like, I don't feel like I'm getting the support I need, right? So we're doing this run. My squad is talking mad shit, like, let's go, Cruz, let's go, let's run faster. I'm like, look at him like, fuck you guys. You know what? I'm gonna run slower. Fuck you all, right? And you the other squads passing us.
Dead weight.
You see, like, all the other squads are passing us, and they're like, "Oh, it looks like your squad's gonna have you again." And we're like, oh. And everyone's like, "Dude, come on, dude! Like, run faster!" I'm like, "Fuck this!" And then I remember my squad instructor comes out, and she's like, starts talking mad shit, bro. And I go completely internal, bro. Like, I'm not talking to no one at this point. I'm going completely internal. I think one of the other instructors saw this after I was done run,
Kind of
and he pulls me aside. He's like, "Yo, man, what's up?" So I told him, like, the whole, like, dude, like, I break down, bro. I break down, and yeah, they took care of me, man. They took care of me. At the end, when I graduated,
you kind of hit the rock bottom there, huh? Where you're just like you felt defeated. You were just like at your end at that point.
yeah, I was it, man. I was at that point. I was tapping out, bro. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. There's no reason why I should be doing this. I'm away from my family, and my kids acting out. I have this squad instructor that, you know, it's not giving me what I need, right? And it wasn't until we finally graduated, and I will say this much, right? You know, because we talk about the bad stuff, but I have to talk about the good stuff that woman did, because she, oh my God, like, my first year in the trenches, she would call me at least once a week to check up on me, at least once a week. Hey, how you doing? How you doing in cycle? How you doing with your family and everything else, man? Like, legit. And I remember I had on my second cycle, which was one of my hardest cycles, man. I called her up, like, hey, I'm having this issue. And bro, she was on the phone with me for at least, I want to say, like, a good 2 hours, bro. Like a good 2 hours, just hearing me. And I told her, like, why were you not like this when I needed you as an instructor? And she was like, because I had to play the role. Because I could not way right. That I had to show you that you cannot show emotions to the fucking recruits. If I showed you compassion, I would show you favoritism. I would have showed you that I'm giving you a different opportunity. And how fair is that for anyone else that might be going through the same thing and they're just biting their tongue or their lip? I wanted you, because you are going through the same situations, just the same way like I told you with the recruits. And bro, she was right, bro, because you hear some shit from the recruits, and after a while, it's sort of like the same thing, right? Like, every year you have one of the kids in your platoon that their parents are going to get deported. And that's a big thing, man. But every cycle you hear the same story.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I need to send money to my parents. They're about to get deported, blah, 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 blah. So in a sense, I thank her for that, right? It was a shitty way to say, like, it's a teaching moment, probably, but what other way was there to learn, right? What other learning opportunity was there for that? So I have to be appreciative of that. But yeah, man, the high school, it will break you, man. And I think I had it really rough in the high school. And then while I was in the trenches, I loved it, man. I absolutely loved it. I still remember my first cycle. For me, it was like a fucking breeze. My first cycle, because the other hats, they were getting fucking slayed, and me, I was like, "Oh, you need me to do this? Okay." I had a good attitude about everything. I'm like, "You need me to do this? Okay." "You need me to do this? Okay." Because I got fucking slayed in the high school. So by the time I made it to the trenches, I was like, "Oh, this is what you need? What, 2 a.m? Fuck yeah, I'll do it. I don't care." So
What year did you go to the high school? What was the year?
2018. Now it's a little bit more different, right? It's time I
Right.
left the high school, it's a lot different. They don't do the T cards anymore, which was one of all the students' biggest complaints, right? We all bitched about it, and once they took it out of the high school, all the drill instructors that were in the trenches like, "Oh, that's some fucking bullshit. Hold on, you know how Marines are, right?" They're like, "That's some fucking
Yeah.
no." They the same
Yeah.
shit,
Like I had a fucking that. Why did
right?
I
So it was just one of those things, right? But nonetheless, man, like um yeah, it was crazy, man. The hikes, I'll tell you what, the hikes in the high school were terrible. There was once
the good old humps, huh? How far were they?
there was one hump we did. I don't know how long it was, but I know that we were going up and down hills, right? And I remember we were going up this steep ass hill that was worse than the Reaper. I shit you not, it was worse than the Reaper. And it was probably like a good mile and a half, just straight up like this. And I still remember that I
This
was.
was in the backside of Camp Pendleton.
What was it?
Backside of Camp Pendleton. It was in
No,
Camp
it was
Pendleton,
in
right?
Miramar.
Oh,
We
Miramar.
were,
They got some good old mountains over there too, huh?
yeah, we were in
Shit.
some random mountain in Miramar. And I still remember going up,
Okay.
and my complete vision just black. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, "Oh fuck, I'm about to fall out. I'm about to fall out. Oh fuck, no, I cannot fall out, because if I fall out, I'm gonna be made fun of, and I'm already stressed out enough. I cannot fucking fall out." So all I kept on thinking is one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. I make it to the top of the fucking mountain, right? And my vision is coming back, right? It's like the blood flow is finally coming back. And I started looking around me, right? Because I was the last one. When I look around me, like half of the class was still going up the fucking hill. It, it, and at that point, I started to realize, like, damn, dude, like, brain can do really fucking crazy shit, man. Like some really crazy shit. And
I'll be honest with you. I never knew how far my body could go until I did boot camp and stuff like that, bro. Because there was times when you wanted to stop, or you just felt like, oh my, in your head you're like, I can't go any further. Like my legs, my knees, my shins, they're killing me right now. But you just you have it in you and just keep on going, bro. I mean, I watched guys finish the Crucible and stuff with that, with hairline fractures, broken ankles, like not giving a crap because they do not want to go back and have to redo a phase.
and it's crazy because I look back at my time as a drill instructor, and I keep on thinking to myself, like, how the fuck did I do that? Like, how the fuck was I cool and coherent to be able to work with 2 hours of sleep every day, right? That I was able to deliver this intensity, and this might sound like a little bit cliche, but bro, every time I would walk on the deck, right, in the side of the squad bay, I would think like it's WWE, bro. I shit you not, bro. I thought to,
Are you ready?
bro, I like
Like,
legitimately, I was like, you know what? I need to have like a mixture between, the same demeanor is the Undertaker, the spitball fucking shit talking as freaking as The Rock and fucking this fucking hardcore fucking booting ass freaking of Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's my whole thought process behind there, man.
Here I come,
bro.
You know, like,
Bro, like, and you were tired, man. Like, legit. Like, there were times like you were tired, and I shit you not, man. If it weren't for like the other drill instructors, honestly, like I wouldn't have survived, man. Because at the same time, it's like the other drill instructors pump you up, and like you'll be like fucking like slowing down. You're tired, and you'll have another drill instructor will come by as they're running around, and they'll tap you on. Like, they'll pull in your sleeve, like, let's go, bro, let's go. And they'll get hyped up, so you get hyped up too. And then you just start demolishing the fucking chaos. And then and then all of a sudden you see this magical thing, right? You see a tear come out of a recruit. Oh my God. That's like the best thing. That gives you so much fucking energy. You're like, oh yes, I made this bitch fucking cry. Yes. Now you start going crazy, bro. And you start the whole deck, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. You just feed off of it, man. And that's why I kind of like look at like WWE, right? Like you see like the wrestlers, they feed off the audience, and you know the audience feed off of the wrestlers. Like, man, it's like that same freaking reaction. Like, you feed off the fucking recruits. Like if the recruits are loud as fuck, bro, like, woo, bro, you are on fire. And the same way, man. Like later down when like your first cycles, like you don't understand that, but later down, like when you're very experienced drill instructors, you kind of like understand, like you transfer that fucking energy back to the fucking recruits, and they get fucking pumped up, bro. It's real, man. Like, especially like drill, right? Like drill, like, let's be honest, like recruits fucking hate drill. They hate drill, but as you start pumping them, like you like hear like inspection arms, and all of a sudden, like, it might sound trash, right? But you look at them like, I'm lost. That's the shit I'm talking about. Just like that every single fucking time. And they're like, yes, sir. And bro, and like, inspection hurts. And they start fucking cracking sticks, bro. You're like, I'm lost. That's the shit I'm talking about. And they're like, yes, sir. And then they get fucking pumped up, bro. They get pumped up.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing.
It is motivating. I ain't gonna lie. It is motivating, and you know that was kind of, I think, a big shocker to me when I was in boot camp is drill. Because I mean, I watched Full Metal Jacket and shit like that, but I didn't know much going in. I was so shocked how everything was really driven around drill, and how important it was to those drill instructors come that day on when they got to go battle each other. But I know that we were all pumped, and it just, when everybody's dressed in their blues and we're all just, popping, and, everything sounds great, and we're all in unison. It does start to, even as a recruit, man, I mean, you start to feel that motivation, starting to pump through your body, and you kind of lose that feeling of, drill. And then it turns into like a competitive thing. Like, yeah, let's beat these motherfuckers. Like, we want the better duty at Edson Range, dude.
And you gotta think,
because back then and you
gotta think about it, man. Like we don't have time to go sit down, watch sports or Sunday night football. Like, we don't have time for that. We gotta train recruits, right? So what's the only sport that we do have, right?
Yeah,
drill. And think about it like this, right? The drill, like, let's be realistic, right? The drill instructor is not teaching a McMap. Yes, it is a drill instructor that goes on quota that teaches a McMap, but it's a different entity that teaches them McMap. It's a different entity that teaches them how to shoot at the rifle range. It's a different entity that teaches them academics like UCMJ, Marine Corps history, right? Even though they're drill instructors, but they're, on quota. But the drill instructors that are there day in, day out with the recruits, are they responsible of teaching them? Drill. And that's where you have so much fucking pride in that shit, right? And I kind of like love how we have like the culture of the depot and treating drill like a sport, especially like before initial drill, when the J hat or the heavy hat takes the platoon alone by them, and all the heavies and the J's take the platoon separate while all the number hats and the senior drill instructors stay inside the houses, and you're just like, hey, we're going to compete and pop sticks in front of this other platoon, right? And it's like, hey, boss, we ready for a drive-by or what? Yes, sir. And then you'll like you'll freaking march your platoon. You'll see another platoon hitting sticks, and then you'll freaking halt them right there, like echo on, sir. Where you at, 69? Where you at, 69? Where you at, 69? Where you at, 69? Wanna get some? Wanna get some? Come get some. Come get some. Echo off, right? And they get like fucking, and dude, and then you just hear that fucking shit talking, right? And then like there you go, you start fucking popping sticks, bro. And those kids get so fucking pumped up and super motivated. And it's like you didn't do like no fucking what's it called? You didn't come up and give them like freaking energy drinks or nothing, man. You just you just told them like, hey, be confident in your skills and hit it, bro. Just hit it. And I'll tell you what, man, that shit's fucking motivating, man. When you see those kids like are pumped up and you see like that fire in their eyes and they're ready to get some, bro, you're like, fuck yeah, man. That's the shit I'm fucking talking about. So it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. And then obviously you have initial drill and then final drill, bro. Like final drill is like the Super Bowl of fucking it is like our Super Bowl, but for drill, right? And you have everyone. You got battalion commander there. You got like all the sergeant majors there. Everybody's there. You know, you have like, and you got to think about it, man. It's like you have family.
Like I forgot what they call it, like the Grand Master of the ceremonies
the
or
drill.
whatnot. It's like a sergeant major.
Yeah. You got the drill masters, and you got to think about it too, man. Like you don't want your platoon looking like ass, because at the end of the day, your family's out there too, because you invite your wife and you invite your kids and everything else. And you want to show them like, hey, I've been away for 3 weeks, 6 weeks. I want to show you the product of what we have, because usually families will show up for.
Kind of lost you for a second. I think you're off.
You can let your family know, like, hey, it's worth the sacrifice. This is what I'm doing. This is the product that you're going to see.
Yeah. How many times do you think you did boot camp, man? I mean, a drill instructor boot camp. You know, how many times have you done boot camp, bro? Do you got to count?
What is it like? So
take it back to when you actually joined. Yes. You did boot camp. All right. Then when you decided to go to DI school, that's boot camp all over again. And then once you become a drill instructor, you're running nothing but recruits through, man. So I got 3 already before you even start being a drill instructor. So when you're a drill instructor, how many more do you think you got?
So it depends, right? It depends also on the battalion company level, how they see your performance, right? If they see you like no shit, like you're a high value asset, like we cannot get this guy like for quota or anything else, like we're gonna keep you, man. And usually like you see those guys. I've seen drill instructors do 9 cycles. I'll tell you what, man, 9 cycles, they're burnt the fuck out, bro. Like they're burnt out. Typically normal, you'll see like a hat do. It's typical to see like 6 cycles. You'll see that's like typical, right? So they'll do and then like 6, and they might do like a 7th, or they might do like 4 green belt cycles, and then 2 senior cycles, and then they'll become a chief, depending how they see them. You might see a hat do, 6 cycles as a green belt, and then 3 cycles as a senior. And it just depends, right? Right place, right time too. Because it all depends on who's coming in, who's leaving, who's coming back from quota, who's going to quota, what remaining time there is, and it's just a numbers game. So, depending if you're in the right place, right time, you're able to move up, or if not, you're kind of like stuck in the slumps, right? Like in my case, I was on my 6th cycle. They were like, hey, there's this opportunity you to go Echo Company. You could go Echo Company, or take the time off. I'm like, dude, I need the time off. I'm burnt out. 6 cycles, I'm burnt out. I don't care for black belt at this point, man. And plus, I wanted to finish with my last platoon, because if they would have put me to black belt, they would have removed me from that 6 cycle I was doing. That was on. It was like the week prior to the Crucible, and they would be like, "Yeah, we're going to pluck you out and put you over here," and that, I don't know, man. That's pretty shitty, man. Because you see like all these kids grow and everything else, and to be like your last cycle, like I didn't see like it was freaking worth it, if it makes sense.
Yeah. No. So what, you did 9 then? We got a total of 9 times you did boot camp? It's 3 before, and then you did 6
so
cycles.
I did 6 cycles.
Maybe.
1 for DI school and 1 as a recruit. So we'll say like 8 times I've experienced boot camp.
Dang. See, I think people fail to realize that when they look at drill instructors pretty much do what all the recruits do. I mean, yeah, they're sitting there yelling at them, but whenever it's time to put the fucking gear on and go hump, they got to put their gear on and go hump. When we're jogging out to go do martial arts, they're jogging out there with us. I mean, so these guys they're not out there just like, taking a break. Hey, bro, take the platoon out. I'll be,
no, and here's the thing, right? If you think about it, because there's this weird misconception, like, oh, drill instructors put pillows in their main packs, right? Not saying like, hey, that there's never been the case.
I'm not gonna say I haven't made that claim,
because
motherfuckers make it look too easy. But when they've done it so many times, how can they not?
Like, you have instructors, right? Like, I remember one chief instructor told us, like, and he inspected all our packs to make sure that we had all the same exact gear as the recruits, plus an additional ammo can. Yes.
Ooh, the ammo can. People don't realize that's a heavy.
That's
heavy
an additional 30 pounds onto your pack, which is not fun. I remember one cycle because me and my senior, we were talking mad shit to each other. I think it was my last cycle. So me and my senior, we were talking mad shit, right? So he puts 3 ammo cans, and I think he put 3 ammo cans in his pack. And I'm like, well, fuck it. You know what? He puts 1 ammo can in his pack. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to outdo you. I'm going to put 2 ammo cans in my pack, right? But we're doing the beach hike. And, to be realistic, the senior doesn't get too slayed because he's in the front. He leads the pace for the platoon. But I was the J.
Yeah, right.
I'm in the back. I suffer all the slinky effect of the entire platoon.
Yeah.
And it's a beach hike. So I'm getting hit.
If you have a senior with some long ass legs, bro, there's a lot of slink that people don't realize how that works.
Bro.
And these kids are all dragging their boots. You're like, hey, pick your feet up.
And then imagine, bro. Like, imagine. I'll tell you what, man. Imagine doing a beach hike, and you have water all the way to your waist, plus your pack, plus 2 ammo cans in your pack. My legs were done. My legs were done. I was like, by the time I ended that hike, I looked at my feet, and they were like all covered in blood. Like, I lost all my nails that day. And that's a usual thing.
Get water.
There's one thing that you will never want to ask a drill instructor is, let me look at your feet. Never ask a drill instructor, let me look at your feet, man. They will have the most cringiest, ugliest freaking toenails because they're all broken. It's pretty bad.
I mean, I can only imagine, dude, because like I said, going through it one cycle is a lot on a human being. Having to go through that iteration 8 times That is a lot.
Yes. And now,
But that's, I mean, honestly, that's why, you guys are such badasses, though. I mean, it takes a certain individual. That's definitely not everyone can do that. Is there a big failure rate too with drill instructors, like, and stuff like that? And what happens if they get dropped out? Because obviously they got to do this as a B billet or whatever.
so strangely enough, you will have you do have drill instructors that do tap out. Usually what they'll happen is they'll either move them to a different team because it's either like the team dynamic is not working out for that drill instructor and they have to move them, or they're just simply like they'll plug them out and they'll put them on quota and see how he does there, right? It might be like, hey, that drill instructor has other things going on, right? So let's take care of the drill instructor. Let's move him a quota, have him fix whatever he needs to fix, and then come back strong, right? And there's those cases, right? There's other cases where, the drill instructor is just straight up quits, like straight quits, and they got to be freaking RFC'd, right? Relief for cause, because they straight up don't want to do it anymore. They're done, and so there's no saving those individuals. So there's everything, right? But the good majority of the cases, like when you have a drill instructor taps out, what they'll do is like, hey, we're just going to move you from this team. We'll move you to a different team to see how the dynamic works, right? And if the dynamic works, then it works, right? I had a buddy of mine, like, he so happened he tapped out in 2 different cycles, right? Because he just couldn't work with a certain individual within the company. He just couldn't, because I don't know. I like the dude, but he couldn't work with the dude. And I was like, all right, whatever, man. But he ended up being successful, right? He ended up his tour as a senior, even though he tapped, like, in his first 2 cycles, he tapped and wanted to quit. But regardless, he made it all the way to senior, right? So it just tells you, right? Like, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you become a senior because you were a badass the whole entire time. Like, not always the case, man. I've seen a lot of people that wear the black belt and they tapped out in their early cycles. So it's either here or there. It's right place, right time.
That's what you said for the senior drill instructor, right? You said it kind of starts during the early cycle too, right? When you're going into DI school, they're already starting to check that out. That's what.
Well, it depends, right? Because it's 2 things, right? You have, like, as I was mentioning at the beginning of this session, is you have the ones that got histed and the ones that volunteer. The ones that volunteer have a really, really hard time adjusting, right? And the reason why is that they have this mentality that I'm going to go to the depot and I'm going to mentor, guide, and mold these recruits into this product that I want in the fleet, right? And that's not the case, bro. Like, you're not developing corporals.
Yeah.
Like, you're not developing like senior lance corporals, right? And some of these guys that go volunteer, they get their feelings hurt. Like, no, dog. Like, that's not how we conduct business here. Like, that's not how we're doing it. Like, no, you're not the freaking recruits' buddies. Like, and for them, it's really rough. You got guys that, from whatever MOS they come from, they might get like 2 hours of chow. They might come in at 08 and at 1600, they already bounced back in the fleet. In comparison, now you're there from 5 in the morning and it's still like 2300 and you're still awake doing stuff for the recruits. So now they're having like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, those guys are like, damn, I volunteered to do this shit. Like, this is not what I signed up for. Because in their brain cells, like, they're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. For the guys that are hits, they're like, whatever. I knew this was going to suck, but I'm just going to do it. I don't have other right. choice than just push through it. And they do really, really good, man. Like, I don't want to say they drink the Kool-Aid, but they adjust to whatever. They conform very quick. Like, hey, this is what you need from me. All right, cool. I got you. Oh, this is what you need. All right, cool. You need me to do this? All right. You need me to conduct myself like this? All right, cool. Why? Because we don't want to get fucked with. We just want to get the job done as quickly and effectively as possible. So our time on the depot becomes a lot faster and we can go back to the fleet, right? Compared to the guys that volunteer, they, I don't know, man. They have a rough time. They'll go on social media and bitch about it.
Oh man, yeah. Hey, so speaking of the fleet, so after you you were done with your DI school, you go back out, go back to your job, which you're in the air wing, right? What's your actual
I'm
MLS?
a tilt rotor airframe mechanic, 6156.
Right. So since you've been out in the fleet, man, have you ran into any of your old any recruits or anything like that since you've been out there and they're like, hey, Staff Sergeant, oh shit,
So funny story, right? I actually got one of my Marines that I have in my shop right now that just checked in with me in my section like maybe a week ago. He was actually one of my recruits for my last cycle. So he's very robotic when he sees me. Very robotic.
You feel like he snaps back to he feels like a recruit again around you? Like there's just a different, or does he feel like oh no, there's Staff Sergeant, I got to act a certain way?
I don't know, man. It's very awkward. And I come and talk like for example, we were doing this maintenance on the bird, and then we come back. I'm like, hey man, we're going to do this. And then we're going to do a quick count, like all our tools, make sure that we're good and they're all accounted for. And then we're going to break for chow. Good to go? And he's like, yes, that's right. I'm like, all right, cool. I go back. I go back to the other section. I dab it out with them, talk about it, go to the smoke pit. When I come back, right, I see him, he's in the shop. And I'm like, damn, you ate really quick. He's like, Staff Sergeant, I have not eaten yet, Staff Sergeant. I'm like, what? What have you been doing? He's like, I'm waiting for you to give me permission to go to chow, Staff Sergeant. I'm like, all right, dude. I already heard my rank. Like you don't have to repeat my rank 3 times in the range of 20 seconds. I know what my rank is. It's like, gotta go, Staff Sergeant. I'm like, let's go to chow. But yeah, it's
the second duty station. What? Like, is this the second duty station?
This is his first duty station, but he's just, I don't know. He's just.
Oh, he's out of school.
But cool, huh? I've seen a number of recruits.
Yeah, I could.
Of recruits of mine, I've seen them down and up the line. Guys from my first cycle that are like almost sergeants now, and we sit down and we laugh about some of the shit that happened back then in the day. They've been in the fleet, they're more experienced, they're more comfortable with staff and COs compared to like the more junior guys. Right. That they're like still like, am I going to get fucked up or not going to get fucked up? And honestly, like it's funny, right? Because if you see me out there, like you're not going to know that I was a drill instructor unless I mentioned to it. And a lot of people like come up to me like, hold on, you were a drill instructor? I'm like, yeah, dude. He's like, there's no way, you're so like chill. I'm like, yeah, like what did you expect me to do? Come over here and be like wearing fucking Baby Gap freaking uniform and try to grab my freaking hand, wrap it around your neck or something? Like, he's like, no, you're like really like chill. Like, you don't blast us for having hands in pockets or anything. I'm like, dude, all I care is that you do your job. If you do your job well and get these birds up, like the rest is peanuts, man. Like, I mean, I will enforce the regulations and everything else. Yep. Don't get me wrong. I will enforce regulations. But, dude, if it's like 28 degrees, I'm not going to get mad that you put your hands in your pockets because you're freezing cold. Like, I think logically about it, too. So,
right. Now, I always said it was pretty chill on the air wing side. Is it pretty more laid back on the air wing side, or do you guys feel it's a little more, because you guys are also around officers, so I would imagine it can't be so chill, because I mean them fools can lock your ass up anytime they want.
I'll tell you what, the air wing, I want to say we are possibly one of the most disgruntled guys you can meet out of the Marine side. And hear me out, right? In garrison, we do the same amount of work, regardless if we're deployed in garrison or wherever we're at. It really doesn't matter, because if you think about it, grunts still
Right.
go out to the field like every once in a blue moon. Once a quarter they'll go out, do a good field op, and then come back. But the good majority of the time, when they're in garrison, they'll do some formation in the morning, they'll do some sort of training, and then they fuck off for the rest of the day, right? And then whenever you go on the mule, there's nothing that a grunt can do on the ship, right? Except go to the gym or go to the chow, right? Our guys, they get fucking played regardless, right? They're doing maintenance on the aircraft regardless, in garrison, on the ship, regardless of where they're at. They're always doing the same amount of maintenance. And you can think about how disgruntled my lance corporals and sergeants are when they go to the chow line on the ship, and all of a sudden they're like, what the fuck? This line is long as fuck. And it's because the grunts decided they're going to make the line for the mess deck at 0930, and my guys have a small window of like 30 minutes to get some chow in their body so they can go and support the flight operations. So, yeah, the guy.
Yeah, them fools were probably there already. They were probably already there waiting before the chow line even opened.
Yeah, man. Like, chow line opened at 1100, and these guys are there from like 0830. Like, I was like, oh, damn, man. So they're really disgruntled. There's nothing really chill about the air wing. I want to say our relationship with officers is really good, I guess. We love to bust the chops out of our officers all the time. Like, we bust their chops like there is no other. Especially like,
are they pretty cool? Are they pretty chill with it, or some of them get butthurt?
I want to say there's like a 75-25, right? And usually the ones that, are not chill about it, usually like get their shit pushed in by the other officers. Like, hey man, like, these are the guys that fix our aircraft. Like, these are the guys that keep us safe. Like, don't fuck with them, right? I still remember when I was a sergeant for ITX, we had this one major that she kept on overspeeding the landing gears, right? So every time you overspeed the landing gears, it's a big inspection you had to do. And she did this like 4 or 5 times. Usually, like, when an officer or a pilot overspeeds the landing gear, they'll come up and they'll come with a 30 rack of beer and they'll be like, hey man, I'm like really sorry. I didn't pay attention of what speed I was going. I put the landing gears down. Here's a 30 rack. Or they'll come in coveralls, man, and they'll do maintenance with you. And it's like, all right, this is cool as fuck, man. Like, I expect that. But this lady, she was like, nope. Yeah, and she would laugh about it, like, man, where's our 30 rack of beer? She's like, ha ha ha, and she would just walk away. So guess what the maintainers started doing? They started downing every aircraft they would see her get on. They would down the aircraft. Like, sorry, ma'am, you're not flying. Why not? We just found this. This hinge is like loose. They would find anything on the aircraft to just down it so she wouldn't fly.
We got a maintenance issue.
You got
sorry about that.
Hey, ma'am, I got over for your safety, right? So it's like kind of like one of those things, right? But I want to say, like, the relationship between the officers and enlisted are pretty solid. Out of the 5 units I've been, like, it's always been like good camaraderie. There's always good competition amongst the officers and enlisted too. The officers, they have like their little mascot, which usually, like, it's a competition of who grabs the mascot between the enlisted and the officers. And, usually when there's like a debt or something, it becomes like really funny because the enlisted will always try to kidnap the mascot and then leave ransom notes for the officers. Like, well, if you want the mascot back, because usually it's the most junior officer that's in charge of it. Well, if you want it back, they'll send like pictures and everything. It's funny. It's super funny. Like, they'll post pictures around the squadron and everything else, like, follow the clues of where it's at, and like little ransom notes like, hey, if you want it back, you must go to the CO and plead for a 72 or something. And, it's funny. It's just to boost up morale, right? It just keeps your head in the game pretty much, It can't be always work. there has to be like some sort of fuckery to, to alleviate some of the stress of, the flight schedule and everything else.
So, have you had any really bad mishaps with any of the aircraft or anything in your guys' squadrons?
2017, and this one's like more personal for me. So we're in Kuwait for Operation Inherent Resolve, and we are legitimately a month away of going back home, right? So now we have a new grunt unit that came in. So what we're doing right now is flying the new unit out to the FOBs and then replacing them with the old unit. So we're doing like a swap, right? I don't know what specifically happened, but I guess like the aircraft was too long in what they call the RBL, or a blackout. So the aircraft comes in, all the dust starts going up and all the sand, and the sand and yeah, they were in Syria. The sand in Syria is very, very fine. So it goes inside the intake and start clogging up your filters and everything else. So it was too long in there and start clogging up. So whenever they powered out, it clogged up the engine. So the engine just was like, I'm not giving no more. So that engine caught fire, the other engine caught fire, and that aircraft crashed. It was a scary day, man. It was a scary day because for us as a maintainer, you got to think about it, right? Like, you don't know absolutely about anything of what's going on with the aircraft, right? So you're just thinking in the back of your head, like, did I do everything correctly? Did I make sure that every torque was there? Like, and you cannot go back to the documentation to review anything that you did, right? So, because once the aircraft goes down, everything gets locked up. Like everything in the system get locked up. River City 1, you cannot talk to outside. So you're just in your own headspace thinking, like, what the fuck did I do? Did I make sure that, huh?
Do they ground the rest of the fleet too to make and run through the rest of make sure it's not a maintenance issue on all the planes or something like that, or do they how does that work?
It's all going to depend on what caused it, right? Or what the preliminary investigation, right? Usually, like, if it's the aircraft in the unit, like, they'll ground the whole unit until, like, hey, what happened? Is it something that's mechanical wise? Because if it's mechanical wise, then now we gotta check the whole entire fleet, right? But if it's pilot error, right, then obviously, like, okay, well, it's a pilot error. If it's a mechanical error, then what's going on? What happened? And, there's further investigation with that. So for us, like, the mechs, we're thinking like, all right, did we do everything good? And, and also our concerns is like, yo, our boys are on that aircraft, right? We got aircrew in there, One of my boys, he's a sergeant. Like, we fucking dab it up every fucking day. And he just had a fucking baby too, man. He had a baby like 2 months old, 3 months. Haven't hold the baby yet, man. And we're just thinking like, fuck, man. And I'm just thinking to my head, like, dude, like, that's so fucked, man. Like, and we don't know if they're alive or not. We don't have any information other than, hey, the aircraft crashed, right? Then hours later, like, hey, we got news. The crew survived. Everyone survived. There's a couple people that are banged up. And we're like, all right, cool. And then later that night, like, I think like 12 or 13 hours later, they sent out an aircraft to recover everyone back from the crash. But the aircraft, when it crashed, dude, like, it went down to the freaking dust. There was nothing to recover from that aircraft. It was like, you look at the satellite maps, it was just a black hole. That is all it was, right? Wow. And like, I see our buddy come out of the aircraft, and his fucking flight suit is teared up because he had freaking he sustained injuries to his leg. His leg is all like freaking bleeding and everything else. So he did like a semi tourniquet on his leg and everything else. One of the pilots also got injured too. Like, he suffered a concussion on his head. But at the same time, we were just happy that they came out of the freaking flight alive, man. Afterwards, the grunts had everything, right? The grunts had filmed everything. And it was funny because they were showing us like, yeah, man, we were getting shot by our own freaking rounds. I'm like, what? Yeah, man. Like when the aircraft crashed, like, they told us to get out of the freaking aircraft. We left all our rifles in there, and our rifles were cooking in there. So the rounds were popping off left and right, and they were showing videos as they were getting fucking shot by their same rounds. I'm like, oh my God, that's so shitty. You could just hear the rounds just going, shoo, shoo. Like, damn, that's must have been shitty. Like, yeah, it was pretty shitty, but it was pretty funny. We'll upload later. I'm like, oh my God.
It's always some Marines
It's crazy,
do some
man.
shit, man. So after there's a lot of damage. I mean, was that plane
it was
done?
done, man. There was nothing left of it. There was nothing to recover. Nothing.
No recovery.
And it's shitty, man. And I say anybody that's in this specific MOS, if you're long enough in it, you're going to know some of your buddies that are going to get hurt. I've known that was one. I know one of the flights that happened in Okinawa, one of the crashes, one of my boys was there, Anderson. Like whenever that one crashed on the reef, he had lung and everything. He got medically.
Wasn't there some one off of Camp Pendleton or something like that?
That one was more recent of last year. And that's sad too, because that Captain.
That was like 12 Marines died in something like that. I think there was 12 Marines that lost their life in that one in Camp Pendleton. There's a training exercise.
That one I think is with Captain Lasapio, which was a pilot, which I knew who he was from the Purple Foxes, and I was on deployment when I heard about it, and that one fucked me up, man. Like that fucks you up, man, because it's like people that you know, like, and it's like, dude, like it sucks because it's like people that you work.
Well, sometimes there's a part of your head probably like that could have been any one of you guys. You guys could have been, slain to go on one of those flights.
I mean, if you think about it, man, during our deployment, there was at least 2 Osprey crashes, not from us, but as we're heading out to go to we were actually heading towards Norway when we had 261 when they had their crash, and it fucked us, man. It literally fucked a lot of the junior guys because it's literally the squad right next to us. So a lot of and our lance corporals or our Marines live in the same barracks as them. So they see each other, right? And to know, hey, and a lot of them, it's like their first enlistment. So a lot of them were in fucking shock and dude, this fucking sucks, dude. That's one of my boys that just passed away, and it fucking sucks, man. It fucking sucks because this is one of those MOSs that, regardless if you stay long enough, you're going to know someone that's going to get either injured or is going to freaking pass away because it's just the nature of this MOS, man. Freak of nature always happens in aviation, regardless if it's a training exercise, deployment, or something. It's bound to happen at some point.
And these are high powered, vehicles and engines, and I mean these things travel at high velocity. I mean nothing, I imagine the amount of danger out there. It's immense, dude. Just though having to be aware when the engine's running or they're getting ready to start something as well to make sure, because you hear the stories of people getting sucked up by the engines all the time.
And not only that, man, you got to think about for example, you have outside external factors too, like environment, right? You have, for example, you might have a snowstorm to come up, right? When we were heading to Norway and we were launching the aircraft to go to Bardufoss, we had one of the skids that they had to land in this really remote island out there because there was a storm that was coming up, and wherever the LZ was where they were going to originally land, it was covered in snow. So they had to stop in some random ass freaking location, some random ass freaking village to spend the next 1 or 2 days until that storm, the system cleared up and they were able to go to the original location. So it's scary, man. When you think about it, man, it's not peaches and cream. Like, you know, people will like to think like, oh, swinging with the ring. Oh, it's chill. Like, no, man, there's a lot of fucking factors that makes this very, the level of certainty is just goes skyrocketed up high.
Now, and here's another question. And like, so mission critical, does sometimes the elements kind of don't matter because there's a mission at hand? We gotta fly. I mean, or is there like, hey, when we ground ourselves, we ground ourselves. But at what point in time are they like, does it matter fucking what the weather's like? We got to get these motherfuckers in the air because we got to go, do some shit over here.
It's going to depend, man. You cannot freaking take the mission above safety. There's like
right. I mean, you're dead. You're no good to the mission.
What good is it for me to launch an aircraft when you like the ceiling is like 50 feet, right? You cannot see shit. You can't see where you're flying. Like, what good is it, right? Like, what you're going to do is potentially cause more harm than anything else, right? So there's obviously there's a number of factors, and you know what the pilots use, which is the NATOPS. That whole entire book is written in blood, man. Like, that whole entire book is written in blood. Like, something happened, and because something happened, now it's written in that book as a precaution for other pilots to learn from those lessons learned, so it doesn't happen again. So we take safety very, very, very seriously.
Sure. I'm sure you guys on the wing, I mean, become kind of a family. And that's why you guys probably have a good relationship with the officers, because, hello, you guys are the ones fixing up their rides, making sure that they're going to have a safe flight and they're going to make it back home to not only you guys, family.
I mean, just to put in perspective is like, hey, you maintain a good relationship with your barber, right? You don't want your barber fuck up your hair, right? So, you don't want you don't want your mechs to be mad at you or something, and you always, I don't know, man, like, I've never had a bad relationship with any of our officers. I've never had it. They've always been, I don't know, man, they just always been like really, really good guys, man. They've been really freaking good guys, really down to earth. It's never been like, oh, well, why having my collars going to outweigh your knowledge and your experience? Like, they no shit hear you out, man. So
yeah. That's great, man. That's so let's switch it up just a little bit, because we talked a lot about the Marine Corps. Now, something that you've kind of become big on is you've become big on the good old TikTok side, and a lot of people are checking you out, and I see you go live quite often. You get your trolls on there, but you like in the TikTok side. I mean, it's kind of cool. You get to have a relationship with other people. I mean, I see that there's even times where guys that you may have known or whatever come in there, and you're like, hey, yeah.
I guess TikTok is like the new Facebook, I guess, in a sort of sense. When I initially created my TikTok, because I had at the time I deleted my Instagram, deleted my Facebook, and all I had was my TikTok, right? Because I felt like I was I wasted too much time on Facebook. Given in Facebook, I was not really well behaved at all by no. And I grew up in a time when you had like Marines United, and I even had conflicts with those guys because I used to run a couple Facebook troll groups. So I was very heavy in what it was the trolling environment and whatnot, and like the darker side of Facebook. So kind of peeling back, when I had TikTok, I was like, hey, I'm going to have TikTok. And I'm just going to have it to, I guess, engage with my recruits, right? And I'll just post a couple videos from, my training cycles and whatnot, right? I kind of like started picking up during my last cycle on the depot, right? I started like using a lot more because I had TikTok back when it was like Musically, right? So my original account, I had it back in 2017, 2018. And, I used it to edit videos and whatnot, or use the music from there so I could post it on Facebook. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use it a little bit more. And some people started getting like sort of interest in it, right? I still remember one creator that is a good friend of mine, Sergeant Sandoval, retired. He's now in Cali, but he loves everything drill instructor related, right? And I still remember he was like one of the first people that saw my content and started sharing my content. I'm like, all right, cool, right? And then other people started showing up, like Mia Bella, like Chad. These are like all people that I've known for 3 years now. Anita, Amy, Sophia, like a lot of these people that this I started engaging like on a daily basis, on a small account. I only had like five or 600 people at the time, like not really a lot of people looking at it. And then all of a sudden, I'm finally off the cycle. I have my 3 months break, and I got nothing but time, man. I got nothing but time. I didn't know that there was this whole sector in TikTok that was Mill Talk. I didn't know that Mill Talk existed, right? So I remember at the time I'm scrolling. I still remember one of the first Mill Talkers that I encountered was Joshua Maddox, which was a recruiter for the Army at the time. And I remember he's talking about COVID and not being able to see his kid. And I duetted his video in solidarity because I know the pain and frustration of, and you'll all see my recent video that I posted about my daughter's stuff that she went through in 2015. But I know what he was going through, so I was posting that in solidarity. And bro, that video blew up out of nowhere. I didn't say shit. It was just me and my campaign cover, just showing my solidarity with brother. Like, hey man, I as a dad, I know what you're going through. And that shit blew up like 100,000. And now people are starting following my content and whatnot. And then the whole fiasco with Richie Rich popped up, and I started talking about like what was going on, and I started mingling with more content creators. I met Infidel Nora, and we started getting a good networking and good friendship. And then I know,
now and has a
I know,
baby.
and man, I love her to death, man. I love her to death. That is a good, solid friendship, like authentic friendship. I do have.
No, I'm friends with her on TikTok too. When I took a break from it for a while, but when I came back on, the first video I saw was with you, I think, duetting her video, and then I was like, oh shoot, she has a baby, so I went and checked it out, and she's got a nose ring now and stuff. I was like, oh, look at her. She was an officer, right, in the Army.
She's a Mustang, so she was a combat medic, and then went officer, and how we always say like, hey, the grass is not greener on the other side. Well, the grass was not green on the other side for her as an officer. So she was like, I'm doing this and I'm out. And mad respect for her, man. Like, I have so much respect for her. Like, you have no idea. Yeah. Like, she gave it back to the people that came at her sideways. Like, she gave it back with the same energy.
I had a lot of respect for her too. I mean, if you watch some of her videos, she fires back on people with no shit's given.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and I love
it. It takes a special type of individual to join the military. It takes even a more special to decide like I'm a female in a male-dominated industry. I'm going to go into that. It takes even more cojones to decide, like, I'm going to go from the... So all I got to say is mad props to her, right? So I created a good relationship with her. And then I met Semper Blog or Semper AG, Hannah and Nick. I discovered that Nick was also a hotel hat, so I bonded immediately with him. And I still remember Hannah had made a duet about this lady in Jacksonville, which was a supposed lawyer. And this is like when shit started going wild, or I guess my first tea party, because I'm known also for my teas. This lady, which said that she was a pro bono for Marines, she said like, "Hey, I just want to say that I'm here for the Marines and everything else, but the Marines are one of the biggest pieces of shit that I've ever known, bro." I was like, dude, I fucking lost it, bro. And keep in mind, I'm still transitioning from drill instructor going back to the fleet, so I'm like, hey, I really don't understand how you're coming here and saying that you're here for the Marines, right? And you're a lawyer, so I can only imagine how many cases you failed on purpose to fuck over the Marines, since this is your opinion on Marines, right? And I still remember going on to a live with Alex, or that one guy Alex, and she was there and she was trying to mingle with the Marines. And I saw her, I'm like, I know who you are. You're that one lady be talking shit about fucking fuck out of here. And then a month goes by, right?
I've seen these videos.
A month goes by. I completely deleted this like thought process about this lady overall, right? And she comes back and people are tagging me like, "Hey, this is what this lady's talking about you," and she's like, "Oh yeah, I received this anonymous message saying that Jonas wants me to be unalived." I'm like, "What? Since when?" "Yes, you said that on Alive." So me and her, we started going back and forth, right, about this, and I'm looking at when she's saying like all this shit happened, right? So I go back into whenever I did my live, and I'm like, well, lady, I don't understand how you posted this at this time when I went on live at this time. So how is it that he had this whole ass conversation with me, that you received this message at this time? You received it at, I believe it was like at 9:46, and I went live at 9, something like that, right? So your shit doesn't add up. You're trying to slander my name, and like me and her start going back at it. My freaking followers decide like, I don't like even using followers. Like my fan band, right? Decide like, fuck this lady, and they went and freaking like, I don't know what happened to her account, but I guess they freaking zapped her account, right? And then this other account shows up out of nowhere and starts attacking everyone that was in the comment section for that video. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? But that account freaking blocked me, but kept on making videos about this other account. Anyways, fun and dandy. Comes Monday, bro. My first sergeant calls me. He's like, "Hey man, what are you doing right now?" I'm like, I don't know. What are you talking about? "Hey man, I need you to go down to NCIS." "What? For what?" "I don't know, bro. You need to go down to NCIS." Is this a joke? Because usually like, the first time I love to freaking play jokes with me. Like, no, dude, I'm being fucking for real. At this time, you're going to go to NCIS. So I'm freaking out, man. I'm tweaking. I'm like, what the fuck is this about, bro? Why the fuck do I got to go to NCIS? I'm thinking like, I probably fucking smacked a recruit. I got an allegation about a recruit. Something like not saying that I ever touched a recruit, but
Yeah,
allegation, right?
it's just good.
And I show up there, and I still remember this really nice agent. She pulls me in. She sits me down like, "Hey, I just have a question, about this interaction that you had with this one lady." I'm like, as soon as she said lady, I'm like, "Oh, I know what this is." And me being smart, because I told you before, like, hey, I used to dabble a lot with troll communities. I have my Google Drive, save screenshots. I'm like, "Hey, I got everything right here." And then I start showing her all the stuff that I have, right? And then she looks at me and looks at the screenshots that I have, and then she's like, "Hold on one second." And she goes up and pulls like this pamphlet of papers that's supposedly the evidence that she had sent her. And she starts looking like, well, if her account is supposedly zapped, how does she have a screenshot from this other account that does not exist and has like this weird, like wiggly, like line, the same one as that you have from here from this supposed troll account? So it came down that she herself and she was harassing herself to slander me. Wild shit.
Damn. You yourself hooked in.
Wild
shit right there,
man. I'll say what. After that, and I came back and I came untapped and clean and everything else. I was like, all right, man. Well, now we got to be careful of how we address certain people because people will go for your neck. And that was my first tea party, man. So
yeah, once you get a certain amount of followers on there, bro, you start to tread in different waters, you know, and everything you say or whatever, whenever you go on live and all that shit, man, you could get yourself banned for a good month real quick on there just because some troll comes out and doesn't like you. I mean, it's rough. Once you hit a certain, you know, a number on there, it gets, you know, the amount of trolls come out of nowhere, man.
So that goes on to my following story, right? Now I finally moved to Jacksonville, and I get hit up by Outspoken Veteran, right? And I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, well, you know what? There's this Marine that needs our help. I'm like, what Marine? Well, there's a Marine that supposedly is going to lose their farm, and I know like a lot of Marines follow your content. If you want to share his info, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. You know, again, I have a lot of like, I go onto the fences when it comes to stuff like this because again, like I've dealt with my fair share of trolls and scammers and whatnot, right? And I start looking at this dude's account, right? And you know, I'm talking with Outspoken Veteran about it, and she's on a freaking pissing contest with this other lady that she's the one who's promoting the Marines page and calling out all the conservatives like, oh, look, you have this Marine, and look, here are the Democrats helping this poor Marine out. Where are all the conservatives at? Blah, blah, blah. So it just becomes a giant freaking hot mess, political hot mess between conservative talk and liberal talk, right? And I'm like looking at the account, right? And you know how Marines are, bro. You know how Marines are. That Marines, regardless of where you know them, Marines will let you know in any conversation the first 5 minutes that they're a Marine. Hands down, right?
Pretty much.
And they will shove. You know, like we like to like frown upon and say like, oh, you know, LGBTQ community, that they just want to push their you know, their pride flag everywhere. Like, what are you talking about? Marines are exactly the same freaking way. We are going to shove the Marine Corps through your eyeballs, through your anal holes, through everywhere, right? We are going to show you that we're Marines, right? Because we are prideful of being Marines, right? Right?
Bro.
So I'm looking at this dude's account.
Especially when you get out. It gets worse when you get out. We turn it up a notch. Tattooed. We start, you know, wearing Marine shit all the time, bro.
So I remember going through this guy's content. I don't see anything about Marines. Nothing. First red flag.
Yeah.
Second red flag, I'm looking at the content, and he's like, hey, you know, I'm a U.S. Marine, and I'm about to lose this farm, and I need $13,000. And every video was giving an update of how much money he's got. So I reach out to Outspoken Veteran. I'm like, something doesn't add up to me. Like, it doesn't add up. I don't feel good about this. Something doesn't add up to me. And she's like, what are you talking about, fam? I'm like, I don't know. So then I go hit up my other friend, which is Odin, not male Odin, but female Odin. And I hit her up too. I'm like, hey, I need some help, man. I need you to look this guy up real quick, because something doesn't add up to me. And supposedly and she's like, all right, I got you, right? So she pulls up and she's like, hey, this dude has another GoFundMe for some other stuff, right? I'm like, what? And it was some weird ass like situation. Like the dude was supposedly in the hospital, had a heart attack, and needed like $8,000. So I'm like, all right, dude. Now something doesn't add up because this dude keeps on asking for money and more money and more money. So now I'm like talking to Outspoken Baron, like, hey, you're fighting with this other lady that's like the flagship for this, which is her name was Shiggy, which love her to death. Go ask Shiggy if she's seen receipts of the bank saying that they're going to take the house away or anything else. So she goes out and she starts getting called out by a lot of people, especially a lot bigger mill talkers like freaking Jamu. Like he calls her out like, hey, where's the evidence that the bank is going to take this away? Like, we're going to help you, support you. Like, you're going to call us conservatives out, we will help you, but we need evidence that there's a bank statement saying like they're going to take the shit away, because we're not just going to simply just give the name away just out of good faith, right? So that starts, and I start digging like, all right, let me look at this guy's username, let me look at whatever his social media presence is everywhere, bro. And then, dude, I go onto Twitter and I find his Twitter account, and his Twitter account was sending money to all these random ass freaking egg workers. And it finally added up to me. Like, this motherfucker, he was getting money through PayPal and all these other places, so it never hits his bank account. So his wife never finds out, right? Never see those transactions, and he just pays these girls directly, so he can get like nudes and whatnot. So I send the screenshots to Outspoken Baron. I'm like, hey, you might want to press on Shiggy, and Shiggy needs to press on this dude, right? So Shiggy comes out with another video like, hey, I know there's a lot of concerns. People have brought me a lot of information. I need some time, right? Because I'm getting attacked from everywhere. I need some time, but I'm going to get to the bottom of this because I feel like there's some fuck shit going on. So when she starts pressing on the guy, right, it comes out that the dude was never a Marine.
Of course not. You know what, bro? I have found that a lot on TikTok.
I end up losing my account because of this dude. My original.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why
you went after him hard, huh?
Because I started posting his Twitter account, like, oh, bro, what's up with this, man? Well, look at all these transactions, right? And you'll see, like, my first video on this account, you'll see, like, I'm posting the transaction, and I was getting hit hard on this account too. And I was like, nah, bro, like, you got my account, my original account deleted. Like, I lost like roughly like 8,000 people and good connections and everything else. Like, fuck no, dude, I'm going to come hard for you. So the dude ended up leaving all social media, and they called we called like PayPal, we called everything, bro, so the people could get their money back. And I felt bad for Shiggy, man. Like, I really felt bad for her, because she was like crying, like, man, I'm like really sorry. I feel like a fucking fool. I should have looked more. I'm like, dude, like, honestly, like, independently of what war you have between conservatives or liberals, like, what you showed me is that you are a fucking patriot. You're a fucking American, because you saw that what you thought was a service member that was in need, and you went out of the goodness of your heart to help him out, regardless of all the other fucking petty bullshit of fighting with other people with strangers on TikTok. But regardless, you saw someone in need and you wanted to do the correct thing. And all I can say is thank you for that. Bad judgment for not researching. However, I gotta say, like, you have a good heart. It was in a good place.
Well, that's the hard part about it, is that a lot of these people who are like red-blooded, patriotic people, they want to support the military guys. That's why it really irks me, man, when I find these motherfuckers on here faking the accounts and trying to use the Marine Corps, the Army, or whatever in the name of trying to get some kind of money or for people to feel sorry for them, and even on Instagram, bro, I've got some weird sergeant, and then he asks me and says, "Hey man, I'm in a real bad place." I was like, if you're a Marine, I know for a fact you're not asking me for no money, dude. And if you are, give me your commanding officer's name, bro. Like, cause I'm gonna let them know you're out here fucking. Because that doesn't look right, man. That doesn't look right on, from any military member, even veterans out there trying to say, well, I'm a military veteran, please help me.
I get it. Like nowadays, like inflation and everything else. But here's my thing, man. Like, how many people I've done call outs. I had one dude, I probably went after him for a good 4 or 5 months. The dude still wants to sit here and say like, well, even though I accepted that, like, the dude's like super mad about it, that I called him out like, hey, you're not a Marine, you never went to boot camp. And guess what, dude? Like, regardless of what you want to say, like, on the coast that you are, you forget that I was a drill instructor and I had a specific position in MCRD, which I had access to McTims, which I had before then access to specific historicals on McTims, which I could see anyone that went to recruit training. So I could easily look you up if you went to recruit training, regardless if you got dropped in the middle of recruit training. I could at least say that you stepped on the yellow footprints. There's nothing that populates on your fucking.
And you got to get this handed to you and put in your fucking hand, bro.
Yeah.
You earned this thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I said. And not everybody has one of these bad boys. What's your boy? Woo. The knowledge, the book of knowledge right here. Look at my boot band, dude. Yep, back in 2000.
And that's the thing, man. And it sucks, man. Like, even like the most recent, even though like the most recent call out I did in this on this new year, man, with the whole not Reverend Warriors, but Wounded Warriors project, man. Even with that one, and that shit was scary, man. That shit was going buck wild left and right and everywhere, and it was like fucking messy. And we found out like, hey, the money was never donated, but the money got donated at the end. So it fucking sucks, man, because there's a lot of people that will use the military and use the goodness out of people's heart. And what sucks, man, it's like everything, man. Like there's people that want to help us out, but then there's opportunists that will come out, and try to scam people and fuck them over. Then other people will try to want to do good stuff, and they can't because other people fucked it up for them.
Yeah, I know that, man. That's the bummer part. And I've watched some pretty good, nonprofit organizations on TikTok ran by veteran guys get totally screwed over. Right? One guy was, promised this big, huge check. And then I guess the check ended up not being legit, and the guy tried to retrieve the money back. And the guy was not even a veteran, and he was sitting here donating money on one side, and then on the flip side, he's sitting there asking everybody for money. And he thought he'd get slick by like wearing a mask and stuff like that, and trying to disguise himself. But everybody knew immediately. Again, here he is after everybody blasts him for trying to steal and take money and falsely he tried to act like he helped these guys out, so it looked like good for him. And then all of a sudden he acts on the backside, he's asking for help, and like everybody's kind of feeling sorry for him, like, oh well, he was a nice guy, he helped out. And then when people started running down the questions and started getting legit on him, everybody started finding out, oh my gosh, this dude's a whole fraud. And I mean, the nonprofit organization, I think that guy has kind of since gotten off TikTok. He's went through a whole legality thing with lawyers and all kinds of stuff. It's just you got to be super careful when you're on here, especially for your first time. You're going to get all these private messages from all these randoms, and they're going to act like, do you got a Cash App? You got Cash App? I'm going to give you $1,000 right now because I just want to bless you. Hold on.
Like, most recent scam that I got in my inbox, I thought this was funny. They went to my to my private Instagram account and saw my profile pic, like, hey, I want to do a canvas with it. Do you mind if I use your profile pic? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care. And I'm like, okay, well, my client won't pay me unless I pay you. So how do I send you this money? I'm like, I don't want the money. Just send it to someone else. Well, why don't you send it to someone else? Like, I don't care for the money. Like, I understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. You want to use my picture for it? By all means. I don't care if you blast it. I don't care if you take my picture and want to Photoshop it on some freaking on some dude getting freaking his shit bored out by a freaking donkey. I don't fucking care, right? Like, but you're not getting my bank account statement, all right? You're not getting any information about my bank account. So, yeah, man, it's like people are and like fuck. Master Sergeant Joe, man, he's like right now on fucking on the TikToks, you know, just blasting all these fucking scammers, bro, because bro, I've never seen. I mean, I know like Sergeant Major Bull, he has like a lot of people that are fucking scammers for him, but bro, Master Sergeant Joe, bro, he has a this dude, he has an entire fucking directory of freaking scammers that are just taking his content, man.
Wow. I don't understand it.
I
Is it because, I mean, does he got a lot? Is he got a
I
big
think
following?
he has like I'm not sure if he has over like 500,000, but yeah, like but
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, once you start getting, you know, up in the numbers, because even you didn't, I see that there's someone out there that, what they call it, the Sad Hatter or something. I mean, someone comes in here.
yeah, the Sad Hatter
You know what
and
I'm
the
talking
Sadder
about?
Hatter. There was a couple.
Oh,
The
yeah,
Sad
the Sad Hatter too.
I just joke around with it, man. Like you'll have, dude, I'll have, dude,
Yeah,
I'll
I've
have
been
people that come in the chat, and it's like I like fucking with people too, right? So you know, whenever I'm doing dishes, right, and I just came back from work. I want to do the dishes quick, so that way, whenever my wife arrives, she's like, "Oh, look, the kitchen's clean," right? So I'm not thinking about like, "Oh, let me take off my uniform. Let me take," because once I take off my uniform, dude, I'm like done for the day. I don't want to do jack shit. Uh, so you'll get
right.
people come up like, "Are
Yeah.
you a pilot? Why do you have your uniform on?" And I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm just a fucking cosplayer, bro. I'm just cosplay, bro." And they get so mad.
I know. Well, dude, I see that you get constantly asked, or like, "Hey, bro, let's go take off your uniform," or something. Like they just constantly. It's funny how much people get on to
But
stupid things like that. Like, well, why are you wearing your uniform when you're doing
I'm
dishes,
like,
bro? Well, I wouldn't go. Well, because my wife told me to do dishes, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go get my
and here's
uniform on."
like the thing, right? So, like I don't care if I have to do it with normal clothes or freaking like I don't care, man. I'm doing dishes, right? Uh, the last troll I had, dude, this dude was going crazy. I don't even want to consider him a troll, man. It's a dude that was trying to get some sort of reaction, right? So this dude comes into the chat and he starts to fucking stir the pot. He's like, "Oh, I know that you hooked up with a corporal in Avi." And I'm like here thinking like to myself, like, we have no female corporals in Avi. We don't have any females that whatsoever corporals. And he's like, no, but she went to a different unit. Oh, really? Well, what's her name? I can't tell you because I'm protecting her. Oh, fuck me. Oh, fuck me. We got a fucking superhero here, fucking saving Captain. Oh, we have over here trying to save everyone here. Oh my god. So what else you got for me? He's like, you took her phone away from her. I'm like, really? I took her whole ass phone away from her. Wow. And then he starts talking about shaving profiles. I'm like, well, I don't know about you, bro, but the Marine Corps, we don't say profiles, we say shit, right? You have a shave shit. So I already know for a fact. And then, like,
Yeah.
Mrs. Mad Hatter, my wife, she hears about this. So she sits right here and she's like, hey, man, whatever info you got, just send me the shit over here. Like, by all means, I'll just put in the divorce. I'm set for life. Just hook it up, honey. Like, because we already know, bro. Like people are gonna come on and say some wild, outlandish shit, man. And it's like, dude, like for what? Like, tell me, like, what is so fun?
It's okay. Those kind of guys make for good content, and it gives you something to talk about on your live now. It's like, oh,
Well, not
we got
even
a
that,
smart
man.
one over
Because
here.
if it was like funny, then I'd be like, okay, like the whole like, hey, I'm cosplaying, like that's funny, right? But the whole like create a situation, like if
Yeah.
imagine if we didn't know how my wife was, right, and she would take everything else, like
Oh,
what,
right.
what
Yeah. No, that's the kind of bullshit right there. I mean, I don't even know like why a person thinks that they're going to come on someone's live and just stir the
yeah.
pot in someone's marriage. Like, come on,
So
jeez, are we? I'm fucking
so like for me, that's
pathetic,
not
man.
like funny. Like for me, that's account for me to just go and like
Right? No,
I just
no,
going to
that
just destroy their account. Like, yeah, dude, I'm just gonna take a screenshot. I'm going to memorize it. And I'm going to make sure I destroy your account. Like, you're not going to have an account for a long time. I'm going to make sure I kill your account. I don't care because like it's not funny. It's not because maybe
that.
for my wife, like she'll have a good sense
No,
of humor, but if she goes to someone else's freaking page and does the same thing, what kind of friction you create in that, right? And you never know who and what.
yeah, you don't have anybody's livelihood. That's for fucking sure. You
Yeah,
don't mess with someone's livelihood, dude. That's when it gets
yeah.
serious as
So
hell.
so to me, in that aspect, is like what's funny, what's not funny, what's realm of tolerable, what's realm of not tolerable. Like you're going around on lives doing that shit, then you probably shouldn't be on social media. And there and
Yeah, I
sadly,
don't
there's
get
a
it,
lot
man.
of
And you know what's funny too?
sadly there's a lot
There's
of
a lot of
people
what?
like that on social media.
I know. I know. And there's also, I mean, a lot of these people trying to be fake and they can't be themselves. Like, I can't tell you how, like, before I took a break on TikTok, I felt like I started being a police of stolen valor, kind of all these guys coming on. And here's the thing, it's crazy to me that these guys think that they can get away with shit once they meet a real Marine or someone who's been through it. Because I don't care, bro. I mean, I went in 2000, 23 years ago, but I still know Marine Corps shit. There's a lot of things that you can ask me and I will still know because, I mean, it was embedded in me as a fucking Marine. So there's certain questions you ask someone. I got some little questions, I mean, that are like really outlandish, like some boot camp shit. But if they are so far left field and they don't know that kind of stuff, then I know, all right, bro, you're probably not a fucking Marine. Because, I mean, yeah, we got some amnesia problems, but there are some things in terms of when the Marine Corps embeds something in you, that
Yeah,
shit is
like
embedded.
you cannot tell me that you do not remember what your platoon number for boot camp was, or what battalion, or what company it is. Like the dude that I asked him,
Right.
like what
Right. I mean,
platoon and company were you in? I was in 3-2. All right, dude, you're definitely not a Marine.
yeah, I know. And that's the other thing is when I'll come across a fake Marine, I'll ask him, and he'll give me some like an MOS to like the Army or something else. I'm like, bro, the Marine Corps doesn't have that. And he's like, well, back when I was, there was no, did and I go look up stuff, and I'm like, no. I went as far as one time because this one guy was on here trying to act like he was an officer and all these things, and the age, the numbers, everything just wasn't adding up. So I go and look up like all this information he was trying to give, and man, this dude gave up some information like he did not do his homework on anything that he was providing because the unit didn't even exist at all. It existed back in like the early 1900s or something like that, and then never was a thing. He was on here trying to pretend he was this guy, and I'm like, wow, bro. I ended up doing like a whole screen thing on it and calling them out because I get tired of watching these guys, and people. That's the part about it is you got these patriotic people who love veterans. So they buy into it. But the problem that I have is they give it a misrepresentation a lot of times because they're on there giving these crazy stories. and that's what unlegitimizes some guys that actually been through the shit. And then we're up against these guys out here telling some fucking folk tales, because they think that it's getting them on the cool card. But it is absolutely annoying to fucking know someone who tries to wear a uniform or call themselves something when I know what the fuck I had to go through to earn that title. And it's not a title that I feel that anybody and everybody should be able to wear or, represent. Because it's not
that's
for
like
everybody.
The thing, right? So like one of the last videos that, kind of went kind of viral, which is the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps when he's saying like, hey, we have not lowered our standards, right? And bro, hey,
let me tell you, that motherfucking video right there, dude, let's just back up. That gave me a hard on, bro. Like, and I mean, when I told my wife, it gave me chills. I was sitting next to my wife. I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I love the fucking Marines. Why? This is why. And she's like, what? And I played the video for my wife. Like, see, we ain't changing no fucking standards.
And that's the thing.
I love it.
So I post a video, right? All in fucking motivation and whatnot, right? Just fucking blisters motivation on my asshole, right? So, and then I get comments like, oh, we've lowered the standards, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all right, what's the standard, right? And like all these like fake ass accounts that I don't know where they popped up. Like, well, you can't say sir and ma'am in boot camp anymore. I'm like, where did you get this information, man? Like, tell me, where does it say? Oh, it's an article that you read from a source that's not part of the Marine Corps, right? It says Marine Corps Times, but we all know that Marine Corps Times is not the Marine Corps. And all of a sudden, like, there's no more admin about it, but yet you are repeating like a dumbass something that you read that someone TikTok later and saying like, oh, the Marine Corps has gone woke, when it's not happening at all. But you're just repeating it and spreading out misinformation. And then like when I put them on blast and they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, bro, really? I don't know what I'm talking about? Go and look at the profile that you just made that comment to. And they'll be like, oh, well, I hope they're not changing that. Oh, what happened with that energy that you had that I was wrong all of a sudden? You think that I'm going to be posting stuff on my fucking page that I don't know what I'm talking about? Come on now, right? But you guys want to come out here and I need to express my opinion, right? Or the ones that keep on saying like, hey, we lowered down the standard. What standard, bro? Like back in the day, you had to run 2 PFTs. Now you have to run a PFT and a CFT. Before you had to do 20 pull-ups. Now you got to do 23 pull-ups. Before you had to do freaking 100 crunches. Then went up to 123 crunches. Then now you have to do planks. So the shit gets harder every 2 or 3 years. It gets fucking harder. The bar keeps on going up. They're like, well, the training standard.
They're not lowering.
Yeah, and then they're
raising that bar. The Marine Corps. See, I even got caught up real quick where I heard that they were getting stress cards and all this shit. So that's why I asked you on the last podcast show that we interviewed on is that hey, did they give out these stress cards? You're like, no, fucking no. And so it's like, see, there's the misinformation that is going amongst other. That's coming from another Marine that I heard it from, and then so I'm going back and like, hey, bro, you need to nip that shit because that ain't true, But there's a lot of misinformation, I think, out there, especially, and some of it, unfortunately, is coming from our own veteran community because, because everyone that comes before the Marine reform was, even more of a badass because even though that's not even how it is. I mean, I think that we get misinformed a lot, and I love that. That's why I love bringing you on and you giving and informing everybody and setting us all straight. And like that video you played on TikTok, man, that was great for that with that Marine.
And it just shows that the Marine Corps never changes because back then in World War II, when the Marines were going to freaking start doing the island hopping campaigns, they questioned about the character about those Marines, right? They questioned it, man. Same thing what Chesley Puller said when they went to Korea.
Yeah.
And when they went to Vietnam. And they're like, old breed, new breed, it doesn't matter. It's the Marine breed, right? And they still said the same thing when the 1990s, when everything was like, everyone was about to freaking, anti-government. And, you had like these bands like Rise Against the Machine and everything else, Slipknot, Godsmack, and everybody was super rebellious, and everyone was questioning like, oh, what about the Marines going to Iraq and this and that? Like, will they have the same tenacity? Like, abso-fucking-lutely, man. We got some of the fucking stellar, illustrious fucking Marines. You got fucking Dakota Myers. You got freaking Kyle Carpenter. Bro, like, you have some amazing fucking Marines that have made a mark in our fucking story and this war for the last fucking 20 years. You cannot say that, you know, there's no way in hell that you could say, like, one generation of Marines was better than the other when it's the same fucking Marine. It's literally the same thing.
No, and let me tell you, dude, there's a lot of stories that get left unfucking told and unsaid when it comes to the military. You know what I mean? Because for one, sometimes we don't, you know, a lot of military guys don't like to talk about their experiences, especially when it comes to, you know, sharing it with others. But, you know, there's a lot of fucking some badass motherfuckers out there that there's stories that were never told. But, I mean, you know, and that's the thing about it. People don't realize it, man. When shit hits the fan, it doesn't matter. At one level, you're going to be either the type A or type B. You're either going to run towards that shit or you're going to run away from it. And I've watched guys who were fully fucking trained be a type B and run away from it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's inside of each and every one of us. And like, you know, I know the Marine Corps is you know, set to fucking train the, you know, baddest fucking fighting machine that they can possibly offer. And I don't think anybody out there yet has been able to get to the same standard as the Marine Corps. And I know I'm a little bit biased because I'm a fucking Marine, but someone prove me wrong. Someone prove me wrong. I mean, the training and everything that the Marine Corps goes through, you know, show me, you know, someone that does better than us. Besides maybe special force, you know, or something like that. But in terms of, you know, each branch, the Marine Corps has always had a fucking standard that they, you know, they're not willing to lower it. And the females have had to come and rise up and to a standard above a lot of other military branches. You know, now we're starting to put females on the front lines and stuff like that. And now the females are over on the West Coast, and they didn't really want them to, you know, be on the West Coast because they were concerned that they couldn't keep up with the terrains and stuff like that. But here they are finding out, man, hey, these fucking females are just as badass as these fucking males are. Let's fucking put these girls or these ladies where they got to go,
like,
man.
A lot of people are like, oh, no, well, you know, females are weak. Like, yeah, you know what? Go and tell that one TikToker called Strong Waifu. Go tell her that she's weak. I'll promise you that she'll fucking bench press you, right? Tell Savannah before she had her kid, right? Go tell her and try to talk smack to her. I promise you that she'll put you on a headlock, and with her biceps, she'll freaking pop your head open, right? A lot of people just go with this freaking, you know, oh, well, it's the girl next door. Like, no, man. Like, you got to think about it. Not even your brand new PFC that comes in through the gate is going to come in like a stellar killer. No, you have to develop them, right? And if you want, like, regardless if it's a male, female, regardless of what issues they have, it's on you, on the NCO, to develop them to be whatever you want them to be, right? So a lot of these guys that are coming on here like bitching like, oh, well, you know, different generations, like, bro, that's your fault, man. Why didn't you stay in? Oh, well, this was not worth it. Then why bitch about it? You can't bitch about it if you're not doing anything about it, right? So you can't come to the outside of the club and then say like, oh, well, this is this and blah, 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 and ruin the fun for everyone else when your experience is very unique. It's to you. And not everyone's going to share that same experience, right? I've had toxic leadership. I had really good leadership, right? But I'm not going to say like, oh, well, this one event, this one time, this square is going to make the whole entire thing of my whole entire career of ruining that. Or I'm going to go spread out like, yeah, toxic. Like, no, man. And if you're so pent up about it, Go to a fucking therapist, man. Go to counseling, something. Go talk to someone. Don't go on fucking social media and just try to sway away from everyone else, because guess what? All you're just doing is fucking everyone over left and right, to be honest. Like when you...
Right. Yeah. Yep. And I mean, everybody's, mindset isn't exactly the same. And, your experience isn't going to be everybody's experience, right? I mean, each and every one of us, we go in with I went in with actually zero expectations. I only watched, like I said, Full Metal Jacket. That was about the only thing I was like, oh. But, going in there, you quickly learn and stuff how it is, and you adapt, and you have to overcome it. You know what I mean, to make it happen.
Yeah, man. It's just one of those things, man. It's just one of those things. Like what I always preach, man. Like, you are, even regardless that or not, whatever you say comes out of your mouth is going to be a representation of the Marine Corps, right? So, like, if you go and bash the Marine Corps, all you're just doing is either kids that might want to join the Marine Corps are listening to you because they don't know any better, because they're like, well, he was a Marine. And if you look at the civilians, all they think about Marines, like, well, these dudes are fucking badasses, right? I see them in freaking Call of Duty and everything else. All I'm thinking about is like these dudes are total badasses. And then when you have a guy that just comes up on social media and just starts bashing the Marine Corps, like, yeah, it was bad. I didn't do anything in my career, X, Y, or Z. That kid's going to be like, well, you know what? I'm just not going to join, or I'm going to do something else, right? And then if you don't feed the machine, how do you replace the machine, right? Doesn't keep the machine well lubricated. And everyone that's inside is going to, start creating more friction on your gears and everything else. So it's just food for thought, right? For social aspect.
The problem. And these guys, I don't think a lot of time aren't thinking about that aspect of it is, hey, I'm going to steer people away. We need a fighting force, people. I mean, if you haven't noticed, America is a huge target. A lot of people hate the Western civilization in general. So, for people, especially veterans, for you guys to steer people away from it, I mean, it's, again, once again, everybody's not going to have the exact same experience. I know when I was in, I wanted to get out. But when I got out, I really appreciated the Marine Corps. And I missed so much of it. And there was a little bit of a quick second too when I was sitting with the actual we call him this I forgot what the career jammer. We had to go talk to him before we were getting on our way out, and I almost was gonna re-enlist for a quick second, just because I had finally, like I said, it finally wore on me, like, and everything kind of made sense to me at that point in time. The whole time I'm in being a PFC or a Lance Corporal and getting shitted on and stuff like that, at that moment in time, you're like, oh, woe's me. But it's once you pick up NCO and everything else, and then you kind of start to realize, wait a second, there's a whole meaning to a lot of this. And a lot of things clicked in for me, man. When it came to boot camp and everything else. But once we went to combat, and you're like, and it's like the fucking light bulb goes off, and you're like, no shit, man. No wonder why they told us that. It's kind of like the same thing when you're a kid and your mom's always telling you not to do something, or your dad, someone telling you not to do something. Then you become an parent later on, and you're like, no shit. That's why they didn't want to fucking, for me to do that. Same kind of thing. It comes in the Marine Corps.
And it doesn't take away, like, yes,
same
there's
experience.
Obviously bullshit in the Marine Corps and everything else. There always is. And for the guys that are getting out, it's nothing against. Obviously, like,
too. I mean, once I got a civilian job, it wasn't much different out there. You had shitty leadership, guys making horrible decisions, and then you have the great guys that you love working with, and it's exactly how it was in the Marine Corps. It's just, we did have a little bit of a stricter, law and a whole another set of laws that we kind of had to abide by. But honestly, when you get out and you quickly go back into working in the civilian sector, and you actually go in and get yourself like a good job, you start to realize, wow, this isn't really much different. There's still fuckery and people making horrible decisions and everything like that. But like you made a good comment and a good statement earlier, is you yourself can actually make that difference or that change. If you don't like how staff NCO is, whatever, or even a corporal is, when you pick it up, why don't you go take that on? And then if you want to keep going and you want to talk shit about how your staff NCOs are, well, why don't you go pick up staff NCO and now you go try it and you try to make it better. Then once you're in the shit, you kind of start to realize why people are the way they are, or why things are the way they are, because you're now embedded in it and you're like, oh, I'm living this life and now I get it.
It happens a lot. It does. It does.
Yep, I bet it does. All right, bro. Well, hey, man, I think we're already at over 2 hours on this one. I really appreciate you, like always, man. And I'd love to have you on again. We'll definitely make some time, because it's always fun having a good conversation with you. We still haven't got too much into your air winger side, but we got through a lot of different other things. I think if you guys haven't had a chance to go check out his previous episode, I've just uploaded it to YouTube, or you can check it on Spotify, Anchor, all the platforms that have podcasts on it. But I really appreciate you, Staff Sergeant Cruz. Hope you have a great day, man. Have a great week, and keep kicking ass for us. I'll be checking you later, brother.
Semper Fi.
Semper Fi, brother.